Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Danny Taylor, co-owner of Vegan Proteins Online Coaching, and today we are going to be talking about the dangers of viewing foods as good or bad. How many times have you been out with somebody and they've ordered a pizza or a dessert and been like, oh, this is so bad, I'm being so bad? Or what I hear even more is someone will be like, oh, I'm trying to be good today, and they'll get a salad or they're eating an apple or something. We often label foods as good or bad, and I truly believe that this can have negative consequences on our relationship to food and our overall well-being. First, let's talk about what most people mean by good or bad foods. Good foods are typically those that are high in nutrients, low in calories, and promote health and longevity, but not always. That first part is usually the most important thing. Number one thing that people mean when they say good food is low in calories. 99% of the time, that's what they mean. They mean it is not high in calories. It is very voluminous. They can eat a lot of it for very few calories. Most people would say that is good. Now, some people will expand beyond that to actually mean health promoting foods, things like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, healthy fats. Bad foods, on the other hand, are often foods that are high in calories. That is the number one thing people mean when they say bad foods, is that they're really high in calories, but sometimes they also mean that it's really low in nutrients, that it can contribute to weight gain or chronic disease. So this is usually things like processed foods, sugary drinks, fast foods, and desserts. So while I definitely do think it's true, I mean, I don't think this is even up for debate, some foods are more nutritious than other foods, labeling them as good or bad can lead to a harmful mindset that can affect our physical and mental health. If you were to ask somebody what foods are good and what foods are bad, or what foods are clean and what foods are dirty, because these are synonymous almost always. Good foods are clean, bad foods are dirty. What is a dirty food? Is it a food that's covered in dirt? No, it's a food that people deem as processed or super high in calories or carbs or fats or what have you. But if you were to ask 100 people if tofu is a good food or a bad food, you would probably get close to a 50-50 split. Or if tofu is a clean food or a dirty food, you would probably get like a 50-50 split. Peanut butter, same thing. I mean, peanut butter, whole peanut butter with just peanuts and salt in the ingredients, has lots of nutrition in it, a good amount of protein, but also it is very high in calories and fat. So what actually makes something a good food or a bad food is simply our perception of that food. And that is really important. It is something that we have completely made up in our minds, and it varies wildly from person to person. One of the problems with this is that it can lead to restrictive eating patterns. When we see some foods as bad, dirty, or forbidden, or off limits, we are very likely to feel guilty or ashamed when we do eat them. So this can lead to a cycle of restricting, not having chocolate for months and months, and then when you finally do have chocolate, you have a ton of it, and then you get so mad at yourself and ashamed of yourself, you say, I'm not even gonna have that in the house anymore, and then you go back into a cycle of restricting. So you're binging and restricting and binging and restricting, which can be detrimental to really every aspect of our health. Certainly our physical health. This is dangerous for our physical health, and it can literally be diagnosable with our mental health. So it is an actual eating disorder once it passes a certain threshold. That's so hard to say. It's important to remember that all foods can fit into a balanced and healthy diet, and that there's no need to eliminate any one food or food group or food item completely. This isn't to say that certain foods are not more nutritious than others, but even non-nutritious foods can have their place in someone's healthy, well-balanced diet. And I think that's just a smarter way to think about it. So secondly, labeling foods as good or bad can and will contribute to food shame and stigma. When we judge ourselves or others regarding certain foods, we are perpetuating harmful stereotypes and contributing to a full-on culture of food shaming, diet shaming, body shaming even. This can lead to negative self-talk, low self-esteem, and disordered eating patterns. Oftentimes, if someone sees a very overweight person eating what we consider to be bad foods, junk foods, dirty foods, people will think like, oh, that person has no discipline, that person can't get it together. Just negative thoughts. Whereas if we see somebody who appears to be healthy, thin, and fit eating that same junk food, we think, oh wow, that's amazing that they can eat that and still stay in shape. Like, think about how screwed up that is. First of all, you can't tell what kind of issues around food or their body somebody has just by looking at them. There are people out there who are overweight who don't actually have issues with eating. They have a healthy relationship with food and or their bodies, and there are people who are very thin and fit who have incredibly disordered relationships with food and their bodies. So you can't tell by looking, but just as a society, that's kind of how we view it. So how can viewing food as good or bad not be contributing to a culture of food shaming, body shaming, diet shaming? It absolutely 100% is. And you cannot tell anything about a person by seeing them eat one particular thing. The same way that one day of eating salads doesn't get you in shape, one day of eating less nutritious, calorie-dense food does not get you out of shape, then everything is just a snapshot. Only that person and professionals working with that person are really going to have a bird's eye view of what's actually going on with that individual's food intake and the results of that. So we need to shift the focus from individual food choices to rather promoting overall health and well-being through positive lifestyle changes. In other words, I would much prefer folks to focus on what sort of positive changes they could make, including more fruits and vegetables in their lifestyle, including more movement, more fresh air, better sleep, more water, rather than thinking about, I can't have any bad foods today, I'm not going to be bad today. That sort of thinking, in my opinion, serves no one. Third, labeling foods as good or bad is misleading and oversimplified. So many foods are complex and can have both positive and negative effects on our health. For example, like I said before, nuts and seeds are high in healthy fats. They have a fair amount of protein, but they're also really high in calories. So similarly, some processed foods can be higher in sugar or sodium, but they could also provide a high protein content, high fiber content, convenience, enjoyment. It's really important to consider the overall nutrient profile of a food and how it fits into our individual needs and preferences. Carrots are healthier than cookies, right? I think we can all agree carrots are more nutritious than cookies. If I had somebody in front of me who was severely underweight and malnourished and essentially starving, what one do you think is most appropriate for that person in that situation? Absolutely cookies. You know, there's instances where even some of the least healthy foods that you can think of can actually be the better option in that instant. An example would be recently my grandfather he's since passed, but towards the end of his life, we just needed to he was not eating. He wasn't keeping any food down and he was getting weaker and weaker and weaker. Any food that we could get into that man at the end was a win, even if it was donuts. So if we were to just look at this as like, oh, he just needs to eat healthy food, we need healthier food for him, that would not have been helpful for him at all. He needed denser foods that he liked because he had to actually eat them. So it's just more nuanced than people would like to believe. But guess what? Nuance doesn't look good on a social media picture or the cover of a magazine or the title of a blog. Nuance does not get people to click or read or buy. But that doesn't mean that it's not real and important. So what can we do instead of labeling foods as good or bad? First, we can practice mindful eating and listening to our body's hunger and fullness cues. We can also aim for balance and variety in our diet, including a range of whole foods and some indulgences or treats that we enjoy. We can also focus on promoting healthy lifestyle habits such as regular physical activity, stress management, social connection. All of those things are very important and, believe it or not, will encourage change in your relationship with food and your body. Have you ever been through a period where you labeled foods as good or bad? Have you actively tried to move away from that but still catch yourself thinking those things from time to time? What strategies have worked for you to move away from that good, bad mindset around food, and what has not worked for you? Let me know in the comments down below. If there's anything that you'd like to see, please let us know. We love to make the videos that you guys want to watch. We want to create videos that help you in your day-to-day life. If you want to take your fitness and your physique and your relationship with food to the next level, feel free to reach out to us on veganproteins.com. You can fill out a coaching application if you're looking for one-on-one coaching. You can join our Muscles by Brussels membership if you're looking for more community. We have different coaching for people of all different levels and goals at veganproteins.com. We'd love to hear from you. Anyway, if you like the video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell, all the things I'm supposed to tell you to do at the end of a YouTube video. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye.